Basically, this girl was talking about, she's in her 30s and she was like, advice I wish I learned when I was like in my 20s. And it was the idea of icing versus cake in life. And so a lot of the times people are focused on the icing.
As you should. The ice cream is the only good part of the cake.
The icing?
Yes. I literally will get like 3 pieces of cake and only eat the ice cream off all 3.
I scrape icing off. I get mad when there's too much icing.
You don't like ice cream? What is wrong with
ice cream? Icing.
Icing.
You're too brain cells.
Am I saying ice cream? You don't like icing? Icing is the best part. You just haven't had the right icing.
I am picky about my icing. Like I like the buttercream one or so like whipped icing.
Please stop. I haven't eaten anything today. I feel like an almond mom, and talking about icing is like.
Well, we're gonna talk about cake.
Okay,
because it's important.
So most people like the icing, or they're focused on the icing.
People in life are focused on icing, and they're not focused enough on the cake. And the cake is building a strong foundation. So she put it this way. She said, having a home that is aesthetically pleasing and looks great in photos and is always organized is icing. But having a home that you can afford easily, even if something goes wrong, like having a house that it regulates your nervous system. My apartment does not regulate my nervous system. When I tell you when I'm there,
system, like it's hot. And, like,
yes, but having a home that makes you feel peaceful when you're inside of it and it feels like yours, that's cake.
Like that's the essentials. That's what matters.
Yes. Having a body that you love that feels healthy and strong is cake. Having a body that looks good in bikinis and photos is icing.
That's actually really true.
Do you get it? Do you get the difference?
No, it does. Because I'm thinking back to years ago when you and I definitely had a lot more icing, but a lot less cake.
Yes. And that's when, so she was like, so many times in life when I should have been on top of the world because I thought I was getting exactly what I wanted, I was actually freaking miserable because my cake to icing ratio was way off.
That's actually so true. Like it's doing the things that you're doing basically to like look good for other people or because you think you should do it. And honestly, to look good for other people. I think that's really what it comes down to versus like what's going to make you genuinely happy.
Right. Like why do you need to buy a home that is out of your budget just because you want to post about it online and have guests over and impress them? Like what should bring you more joy is the cake. And that's, again, having something that you can afford and be happy in and make it feel like a home. But maybe it's not like the most picturesque, like you see like the all freaking white, boring, bland, modern looking homes. Like no shade to those. But I just thought it was such a good like, what do you want to call it? A theory?
No, like
what do you call that?
Observation, theory,
just like a view,
I think
perspective on life.
Perspective. That's what it is.
It's a perspective on life.
You know, this is reminding me of is the Miley Cyrus song, "The Climb."
Oh,
it's always gonna be another.
Oh God. Okay. Well,
I'm always gonna want to make it.
She said a strong foundation of authenticity is cake and everything else is icing.
That's so true.
And I'm not saying like you can't have icing. I think everyone deserves to have cake and icing. Like you deserve both, but you have to get the right ratio. Otherwise, like you're going to be miserable. It's not going to be worth it.
I think that's such a good point. Like I think it's like if you want to do things and like work out at the gym and try to like look a certain way because like that makes you happy, like you should be able to do that. But if it's your entire life,
right,
and it's the only thing that matters to you, you will never be happy because there is no perfect person. Like there's no perfect body, there's no perfect face, there's no perfect hair. Like you're always gonna want more if that's like the only thing you care about,
right? Versus
focusing on like how something makes you feel, like, and surrounding yourself with things that matter to you.
Exactly. And you're not going to reach your goals if you're just focusing on the icing. Because if your goal is icing, that's like so far away and unattainable if you don't have a strong foundation.
That's so true.
AKA the cake.
It's also just like the disorder in your life too. Like I think it can go for anything. Like I know, I mean, this is something like I still work on like ongoing, but like I know years ago I was in a spot with my job where I was just like so obsessed with it that I based my entire life off of like whether or not I was performing well at work.
And that was when you were probably at your lowest.
Yes. And it's so interesting
like
because like I was like, like, you know, working really hard and like I was doing well, but I was like so miserable during that time because I was so focused on like, all right, I could be doing better, or I didn't have a good week, like there must be something wrong with me. And I got like so invested in it that it actually made me worse at my job because I was so obsessed with it.
Right.
Versus if I just focused on like, all right, this is my job. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to work really, really hard. But at the end of the day, it's just a job. And like the purpose of it is to try to become successful and put food on the table and maybe, you know, get to afford certain things, maybe get to travel and like spend time with my loved ones. Like if that's the view of it, like that's a healthier relationship. And I actually feel like since I've tried to change my mindset the past few years about that as I've gotten a little older, I'm a lot happier in my job now because it's not the only thing that matters to me anymore. Like it still matters a lot and I'm still gonna work just as hard as I did back then, but I'm not like only obsessing over that to the point where it kind of made me miserable. You know what I mean? So I think like whatever it is, it could be like a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but I think you just have to like have like a healthy level of love and appreciation for things.
Yes.
And you can't make anything like your whole world.
Oh my God, no. It needs to be a part of your world. I made that mistake once, like in a relationship. And this goes for relationships too. Like if you're single and you're looking for your next relationship and, you know, you have all this criteria, you're like, oh, well, I want my boyfriend to be over 6 foot and I want him to be extremely wealthy and I want this and I want that.
That's icing.
Okay, like that's great. Is he going to treat you well though? Is he going to make you happy? Like, do you have the same values and morals? Like you can have a guy that's over 6 foot and is rich and treats you like absolute garbage.
That's a great point. I feel like we don't spend enough time thinking about that.
And like, I know girls that are on dating apps and like, they will not match with a guy if he's under 6 feet. And I'm like, what if that's your freaking soulmate and you're not swiping on him because he's under 6 feet? Like you sound stupid.
But think about like how common that is too, that like almost every single girl I'm friends with that is with like the love of their life at this point, they're always like, oh, like it wasn't what I expected, or you know, he was a friend of mine first, or you know, we met and like it's always something unexpected. It's very rare that you meet someone that's like, yeah, I ended up marrying the guy that I knew I was going to marry. Like I knew I was going to be with someone that was 6 foot and a doctor. Maybe that happens sometimes. I don't know.
And if it works out that way, great.
And if it does, great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also feel like love is found in like the unexpected places. Now I'm
like
thinking of the Rihanna song. We found love in a hopeless place. I don't know what's wrong with me. But like, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago too, right? Like you know, personality matters so much. Like there's so many guys, there's guys you can meet who are objectively extremely attractive, but there's just like nothing there. And you're like, like no. Right. Because it matters so much more, like at least to me, like funny. Personality. Are they funny? Do they make you laugh? Are they caring? Are they there for you? Are they compassionate? Like that matters so much more. It's like someone's mind and like soul that you fall in love with. It's not like what they look like that you fall in love with.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Justice for cake.
It's actually funny because I was watching like The Great Gatsby the other night and I was literally
I saw that
bawling my eyes out, of course.
Why?
Because it's just like so sad.
Is it a sad movie? I don't remember that.
It's just like sad and like, so you're not gonna, okay, maybe I shouldn't say bawling my eyes out, but like
happy
it's not Notebook sad. It's not like they're, you know, old and they're dying together and like you're literally feel like you have nothing else left. It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's just more sad because I think like F. Scott Fitzgerald does such a good job of like just explaining like the complexities of humans and how like you can have all the money in the world but like if you didn't have any meaningful relationships, like no one actually cares about you. Like even if you die, like no one cares. But like also I think the whole point is like all these people were just like so shallow. Mm-hmm. And it's like the whole love story of like he's in love with Daisy and like he worked so hard to like build this life for himself and he wanted to become rich and successful because he knew that that's the type of guy that she wanted, and like he kind of like parts from her for years so he can build up this image of himself and he can make himself rich and the type of guy that like she'd want, and he throws these extremely like over the top parties hoping that one day she'd come and she'd see him and be like, oh my God, like I love him. He's everything I wanted. And he's so in love with this girl and like pining for her for like 5 years. He hasn't talked to her for 5 years because he's like, I just love her so much. I'm going to win her back. But in the end of the day, like she's just like super vapid and shallow. And like all she cares about is like financial security and being with a guy that like will allow her certain like, you know, pleasantries in life. She doesn't actually love anyone except for herself. And then in the end of the movie, like it kind of makes you realize he doesn't really love her either. Like I think he loves the idea of her. Like he loves the idea of having this like beautiful, perfect, you know, girl that is like from this like upper class society, and she loves the idea of like the glitz and the glamour and a man that will like take care of her and like buy her whatever she wants. And in the end of the day, everyone ends up so miserable in the movie. Like she stays with her husband. He is a serial cheater and abuser. She is not in love with him at all, but she stays with him because he can give her a more stable life, which she wants. Gatsby ends up dead. If I'm ruining this for anyone, well, actually, no, you should have taken high school English, so I'm not. But like,
I feel like everyone's seen the
he
movie by
ends
now.
up dead, and like, it's just like you realize you're like, wow, like none of these people's lives amounted to anything. Nothing had any meaning, and you kind of like come away from the movie. I feel like feeling a little like just sad and like empty inside. But I think it makes you. I feel like it just
I
makes
need
you
to rewatch it.
I just feel like it makes you realize though, like, all right, like that could happen though. Like if you spend your whole life so focused on like being in love with the idea of someone or something and not actually focusing on the meaningful relationships and like loving someone for like who they are, whether it be a friend or a family member or a romantic relationship, like you're not gonna have any like meaning. You know what I mean? Like it's so important.
You said Scott Fitzgerald wrote this?
F. Scott Fitzgerald.
F. Scott. Well, I think you nailed exactly what he was trying to, what he wanted his audience to take away from it.